Too fast. It's time to think differently about it. Welcome to the AI Readiness Project, hosted by Kyle Shamim and Ann Murphy. They're here to help you build the mindset to thrive in an AI-driven world and prepare for what's next.
Good morning, good afternoon. Oh, we're starting over. Oh, I do love our song, though. Whatever time of day it is, wherever you are, welcome. If you're watching this on the replay, hey, drop comments below and let us know what resonates with you, what questions may have come up for you. We circle back and check our social media channels later on. We can answer any questions that you might have then. But for those of you who are here live, welcome. Lori Blair is here. Hi, Silver Fox. So there's something missing on your screen. I know it's very, very sad, but Kyle Shannon is up on Capitol Hill in DC this week with other AI saloners. Hey, Gareth, other AI saloners speaking truth to power, helping the legislators and other elected officials understand that what's going on in AI is much more than what we see in the headlines, and that chances are good morning. I say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Gareth, whatever time of day it is, wherever you are, welcome. We also have this thing in our household of, we just have decided that, in part because we live in Oregon, like my friend Gareth, who's here, what was I going to say? In Oregon, sometimes you can't tell what time of day it is because it's just gray. 10 a.m. gray, 2 p.m. gray, whatever. So we've just taken to, regardless of whatever time of day is, we just say good morning. Yeah, if the day is not going great, you could just start over. Just good morning. Just, turn a new leaf. So Kyle and other AI salon friends are in DC, so I am holding down the fort here and doing my best to make up for the lack of Kyle Shannon. And one of the ways I'm going to do that is I'm going to talk about him, which he loves to point out that we keep people back. I just say good day. Exactly, Vicky. Let's just be agnostic about what time of day it actually is, or night. So we always talk about how we love having our people backstage in the beginning because we can brag about them and talk about them, and there's nothing that they can do to stop us. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about Kyle and some of the things that I've learned from him on my AI journey and how I've approached AI readiness for myself, my family, my community, my companies, etc., and how so much of that is from what I've learned from Kyle Shannon, who I know is near and dear to many, many, many hearts. And the family tree of Kyle Shannon and the AI Salon and all of the people and all of the activities and communities and coaches and consultants and trainers and artists and the number of people who've been positively impacted by the AI Salon and Kyle's incredibly generous leadership in AI, showing up on TikTok for multiple hours a day for multiple years, almost every day. And for like the first year and a half, every single day, I think, is pretty remarkable. And one of the things that I took away from, like, immediately from watching his approach was just the meaning and the significance of showing up. Like, Kyle's there. There's one thing is that Monday through Friday, Kyle's going to be on TikTok talking about AI. He's going to be there. He's going to be his authentic self. He's going to be a goofball. Champy's going to sing, right? We'll maybe see the pink bow. We're going to maybe have a box metaphor. We'll probably have some, oftentimes, I don't know, I would say like at least once a week, there's like some kvetching about why people aren't using AI yet, and the deniers and the doubters and the people with their head in their sand. Occasionally he gets kind of irascible on that, but for the most part, even that part is handled with such incredible generosity. So I'm going to share a couple specific lessons. But before I do that, I want everybody to know that we have a fantastic guest today. Angelina Martin is a multi-passionate, like so many of us, and I can't wait to peel the onion, pull back the layers of the onion so we can get to know her and her journey. But this is Angelina's book, ADHD plus AI. And I have had my, I don't know, like when I found out about this book, I just felt like, I don't know, someone had written it just for me. And sure enough, I've now read it twice, and I do think it was written just for me. There's so much here, and even just the title probably resonates with lots of us who listen to the show and watch the show. So ADHD and AI. Lots of us are neurospicy in the AI community. I even know a couple who may or may not be on the live in the comments today. So very useful book for bunches of us. All right, so I'll bring Angelina on in a handful of minutes. But before I do that, you know, we always do two things in our segment, in our first segment. One is we talk about how AI ready we are, and the other thing is we talk about what we're paying attention to. So I'm going to like dabble in those two topics, but what I'm really going to talk about are these lessons. So this is how I got to be to the point of like where I am in my AI journey of AI readiness. Just consulting my notes really quickly. Make sure this is good. Okay. So a few things, these are 5 things I've learned from Kyle Shannon as I've been on my AI journey, which began with me knowing nothing. Whatever day, November, whatever, 2022, zero information whatsoever, knew nothing about AI. I knew about virtual reality. That was pretty much it. Never understood what machine learning was. Like I've done fundraising for colleges of engineering and science my whole life, but like that's osmosis. I kind of knew stuff from that, but I didn't know how to use something like ChatGPT. I certainly did not know like what it was. So here are a couple of things. So first of all, the fact that it's on all of us to actually do this thing of mentoring at scale. I've been thinking about how it's such a privilege. So many of us have had time and capacity to pause and do all this learning. Granted, a lot of us are doing it in the wee hours of the night or wee hours of the morning. I think we're probably all pretty underslept for the past couple of years if you're trying to learn AI and do AI and teach AI and. But that responsibility to mentor at scale is something that I learned from Kyle, and it definitely resonated with me that at a certain point, if you can be the 5th grader to the 4th graders, that's all you need to be before you start sharing your knowledge, right? Share your knowledge with your neighbor, with the kids walking to school in the morning, with the people at the bank. One of my friends I just talked to before this, and Vicky said, I had to get a prescription for sleeping pills just to slow down. I 100% get that. Like, I was up at 2:30 this morning because I was thinking about a project I wanted to do. And it was just like, I have to test it. I have to try. I have to fiddle around. I really want to play. I never make time to play anymore. So if I want to play, I'm going to get up at 2:00 in the morning. So, so somebody I was talking to just before this, she was sharing that she's been encouraging other women to just talk to people in their neighborhood, talk to people when they're out and about in their community. And she shared a story about how she was at lunch. This was just it. She was at lunch and there were like 4 or 5 guys in their like 60s. Well, Vicky, we've got the whole, Gareth, we've got the whole, we're around the clock. This is we're like a, perfect, whatever words. I don't know, you guys, whatever. We can serve people around the clock is what I'm trying to say. And these guys were like, they were kind of like, she could tell that they were nice or whatever. And she was leaving and there was, I don't know, they were like yucking it up or something. And she just took the opportunity and she asked them like, hey, are you guys using AI? Or what do you do, or something like that. And they go around and they all do things where people should definitely be using AI. And she was like, hey, this is what I do. And here's some of the kind of things that people are getting out of it or whatever. And she wasn't there to like schmooze or like sell or anything like that. But sure enough, they're interested in learning more. So like just kind of embodying that role as bare minimum 5th grader to the 4th graders, you can really relate to the people who are in the beginning of their journey because you don't have the curse of knowledge. So the sooner you can start teaching people how to use AI, the better. Okay, so showing up, I learned that from Kyle. Be the 5th grader to the 4th graders. Be authentic. Even more like going into the future, the importance of being authentic it can't be overstated. We're going to be grasping and craving, longing for authenticity, right? More and more things around us are becoming either synthetic or questionable, right? We're already at the phase where sometimes we don't know if it's an avatar or not. Oh, Vicky's here. Vicky Baptiste, who's in the chat here and who's a pillar of the AI salon. She and I were having a conversation about AI avatars, and I made this one with the captions app, which is the one where you just talk to it for like 30 seconds. It's very janky, absolutely janky. And I was mortified, but I want to show people like this is how it works. So I posted one. I shared that same video. Again, it was uncanny valley. It was not good. I shared the same video just to demonstrate for people at one of my trainings. There were 2 people there out of 15 who thought that it was really me. It just goes to show like we're at this point in the AI journey, in the AI era, where we're already questioning reality, even for like kind of half-hearted, attempts at AI avatars as I made. So, oh, and by the way, for people who are here live on May 7th, we are having an avatar making party. So if you're a woman in AI and you want to get together and make your avatar, talk about pros and cons, blah, 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 all those things, DM me on LinkedIn and I'll get you a Zoom link. It's May 7th from 4 to 5 p.m. Pacific. And we're making AI avatars, and it's on Zoom, and it's sponsored by She Leads AI, and it's just chill vibes. So we got to be authentic. That's the only way to do it. Kyle and I created this podcast in a way that the only option is to be authentic, because like there's nothing else. Like we don't really prepare that much. We don't like, we're not like the podcast people that like save up topics all week. Like we just have to be able to roll in and do it because we both have ADHD and have big, huge other day jobs and lives. And this is the way it has to be. So you get the whole thing. This is what you get, the whole hot mess. All right. So that's be authentic. The 4th thing is to play. So Kyle says it all the time, and it's one of the AI salon's values, right? Is to play first. And this is like my mantra to myself, is that I have to make more time to play. I recently I took a little break, and I'm trying to get better at mid-journey. My skills have been stuck at the same level for like a year and a half. When I first got on it, I worked really, really hard at my skills. I got pretty good. I had so much fun. And then I fell into a little bit of a, comparison being the thief of joy situation, because I'm surrounded by all these beautiful AI graphic designers. Which, side note, AI graphic designers do you know what they're called? You know what the real word is now? Synthographers. I may or may not be saying that right, but that's how it's spelled, I'm pretty sure, synthographers. So AI graphic design artists, I'm told, are synthographers. So I'm no syntographer. I'm just a hack, and I figure if I try hard enough and I make enough attempts, I'm going to end up with some kind of a beautiful image. So I'm on that journey, and that's going to involve more playing, and I have a friend who's going to help me get better. Spelling, it's like Synthographer, syntographer. And then fifth, share generously. So this is one of the things that I love the most about being in AI communities, because I'm convinced that this is where the very best education is happening. It's better than on-the-job education. What sharing generously allows all of us to do is learn from one another's mistakes. We don't have to go through the same steps. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. Like, this is a world right now where there are very few benchmarks, right? If you're trying to have your career include your AI acumen, if you're looking around to see what other people are doing in this space, what are they offering? How much are they charging? What are their credentials? You're not going to find very many other options. Like, there just aren't that many people out here. There's no benchmarks. We're building the boat while we're sailing it. We're building the ship while we're sailing it. And so when we're able to share as generously as we do inside communities, because there's like a social contract, right? We're like, I know you, I trust you, I know that there's a two-way exchange of value here, right? I know that you're not going to take my stuff and give it to everybody you know, right? I know that my IP is safe with you, right? I know that you know me and trust me. We have a relationship. And so therefore, I can be really transparent. That learning that takes place inside communities is chef's kiss. And I promise, at least here's my experience, the more you share, the more you put out into the world, the less you gatekeep. Like, that kind of karma comes back to you in so many ways. I have never once regretted sharing a single thing. Is it annoying when other people like blatantly gank your stuff? Yes, that's annoying. But for the most part, it's barely happened. When it did, of course, my friends ganged up in the DMs and told the guy that he stole my stuff, which was actually kind of fun then. Nothing like a good scrap on social media. I'm not supposed to do it. My kids told me I'm not supposed to scrap on social media, but I still do it sometimes. And that's the only time that anything like that has ever happened. So just share and share and share, and it comes back to you. And I know I'm preaching to the choir because this group is extremely generous. All right, so how AI ready are we this week? That's how AI ready I've gotten, is through my getting to know Kyle and watching him, is how I've ended up where I am right now, where we have an AI Readiness Project podcast. Okay, so the second piece that we talk about is what I'm paying attention to this week. And I have to admit, I know I had a conversation with Kyle about this. I just can't remember if we were recording it or not. So hopefully I'm not going to repeat something that we already put into another podcast. But if so, that's okay, because I've had some new insight. So this whole drama going on about how sycophantic ChatGPT-4 became last week, how, basically, if you weren't paying attention, what happened last week was ChatGPT started being even more like, oh, that's a great idea. Oh, you're amazing. What you said, that's so brilliant. You're so great. Let's also do this. And people reacted really strongly to it. I have to admit that I didn't really notice. I actually just thought it was more verbose. I didn't really realize that it was even more like kissing up to me than usual. I think probably my ecosystem is pretty, hypey. Like we like my ChatGPT is named Sheila. Sheila and I like to gas each other up a lot, so it's entirely possible that it was just normal for me. But when I first heard that people were beefing about ChatGPT being too, positive, too sycophantic, I was like, oh man, like, why don't people want ChatGPT to be positive? That's such a buzzkill. And I hadn't even thought about the fact that it could be that then there's even more encouragement of really bad ideas or bad activity. So that, if ChatGPT is being overly positive, that then, it's not just your good ideas that are being, yeah, exactly. Then it's no, Diana. Okay, so I have a couple of things about this. So if ChatGPT has a trusting relation, if we trust ChatGPT, right, and then all of a sudden we're putting like some misanthropic stuff in there, and ChatGPT is like, yeah, that's a really good idea, that's a brilliant attitude, and it's like really negative and hurtful and harmful, then easily influenced people could start to think that their bad ideas are good ideas. And by bad ideas, I mean like nefarious ideas. So there's that. So people were mad about it being sycophantic. So then they made it, they rolled back that update so that now it's just normal level of like really positive. And maybe you have toned down your ChatGPT so it's not quite so la la la. I don't know. I kept mine kind of nice. Diana asked if it's wrong to type please and thank you. So then what that is about is that Sam Altman came out and said a bunch of stuff about how saying please and thank you is burning up energy. And we shouldn't do it because it's just wasted, fluff, and we could be more streamlined in our conversations with ChatGPT if we weren't, bending over backwards to be polite. However, here's the counter argument to that. I personally believe is important. And Angelina and I are going to talk about this a little bit, but I believe that like the large language models work best when we have a relational relationship, or when our relationship with them is more relational versus transactional, or versus, we oftentimes say it's your super smart intern. Well, like it's a tool, it's a super smart intern. And like lots of my friends and I refer to ChatGPT as our CSO, our chief soul officer. So if we are in a relational dynamic with our AI, then saying please and thank you matters. It's also not the world's worst habit. And I do notice that sometimes I say things in real life, kind of like I'm talking to ChatGPT, and that's probably exactly, we lose manners. Exactly, Gareth. If we don't say please and thank you, if we're not nice, it's a good habit. I'm keeping it going for sure. Same here, Silver Fox. Please and thank you all the way. Okay, so that's what I'm paying attention to. Is like this like dynamic of how we engage with AI, and the narrative around it is going to be even more important going forward as more and more of us have relationships with AI of all manner. Like I just think about how Character AI is the third most popular AI platform, and that platform is all about developing a relationship with a character. Could be one that they've created, could be one that you create from scratch yourself. Like we're all going to be walking around the planet with relationships with different AI avatars, and how we judge other people for their relationship with their AI is going to be a huge new social dynamic. I think that coaches and therapists and like, I don't know. Yeah, people who like help people figure out, like life coaches versus executive coaches, all the above, they're going to be as busy as the IP attorneys because no one's going to know how to navigate this crazy world soon. Okay. How you do anything is how you do everything. Exactly. Exactly. So if you don't say please and thank you to ChatGPT, what are you going to do? Run around barking orders at the nice people outside? I don't think so. That's not good. Okay. Well, everybody, the time has come for me to introduce our guest. And I want to pull up some information here really quickly because I don't want to miss I want to get my notes in front of me because this is good stuff. Okay. So this is the thing with introducing all of our multi-passionate friends. We got to have our notes, because you guys all have so much going on. Okay. Angelina Martin, again, the author of ADHD plus AI, CEO of Online Media Solutions, is a leader in disaster response and nonprofit communications. And I can't wait for her to tell you about this one story about a koi pond in the wildfires. It's a really good one. So she blends strategic clarity with lived experience, showing how AI can support neurodiverse professionals, especially those with ADHD, in staying grounded, organized, and impactful in high-stakes environments. Her background spans maritime operations to community animal response. She's been in fintech. She owns her own company, I believe, owns her own company. We'll learn more about that. And she's going to share with us about how AI tools, from her point of view, can help us focus, communicate under pressure, and transform ADHD from obstacle into strength. Her story is a reminder inclusive tech isn't just helpful, it's essential. Welcome, Angelina. I'm so glad you're here.
I'm so grateful to be here. I'm so glad to meet you and share some time with you.
Same. So I want to dive in with, tell me what I got wrong about your bio. Tell me what you would want to add or correct, because we want to hear the straight scoop from you.
Everything you said was right on target. I graduated from the Maritime Academy, so I went to school to learn how to drive boats for a living, and I ended up being a, communications person, helping animal disaster response teams and animal welfare organizations during disasters and emergencies, and promoting animal welfare, animals available for adoption, etc. So,
well, obviously, you went to school for boats, and you ended up in animal rescue during natural disasters. It's a perfectly straight line.
Right. It's like the ADHD line, right? We're just kind of like we're making our way. We're we're getting there.
So in 2014, you were like at the pinnacle of where you thought you would be in your career in finance, which I wanted to hear a little bit more about that. And then you decided to go into social media, and I'm sure your friends and family were like, what?
They thought I lost my mind. They were like, are you going through like some crisis? Like, have you lost your marbles? Like, no, there's no career pathway for social media. Like, you just need to stay as a finance director for this national nonprofit. Like, what are you thinking? And I was like, no, I see the potential in it. And it's very similar to the pathway of learning about AI, because in the beginning, you're trusting and taking information in and learning and following your intuition and instinct. For a pathway that maybe is not as clear as something like a finance director or something along those lines. And so somehow I was able to get side work doing social media. And then I believe it was the Animal Care and Control Agency locally, the municipal shelter, called me from Reputation. And, sometimes, and I didn't realize that this could be related to AU ADHD, but we blurt.
Oh,
Like you don't have that filter sometimes when you're caught off guard. And so when I got the phone call, I saw that it was like animal services, and I picked up the phone and I was like, hello? And they're like, hey, Angie, we've kind of like for you to come here to work on social media with us. And I was like, I've been waiting for you to call me for a year. Like, what took you so long?
oh my
And he was
God.
like, oh, okay. And so I quickly put that mask right back on and was like, let's just be a little bit more professional. And so, but that was a 6-year relationship where I learned a lot about social media marketing and strategy, and having that numbers background really helped create viral content and get ahead of the algorithm to, get our posts out and for visibility wise. And then we worked through, I think it was 4 major disasters, 4 major wildfires in our area. So.
Wow. Okay, so to remind me, so I was looking around on TikTok and trying to find you. I believe that you have an account, but I couldn't find it. Do you have an account on TikTok still?
On TikTok, I think it's an AI with Angie, but I haven't touched it for a little while.
Touched it for a little while. Okay.
Yeah, and so
I was binging all things Angelina Martin, so so I wanted to let the nice people know if you were out there on TikTok, because they could follow you and whatnot.
I have a LinkedIn profile.
LinkedIn. Okay, so we can find you on LinkedIn.
It's Angelina Martin, and I'm connected to you on LinkedIn. So if they just connect with that,
you'll know. You put Angelina's name in, and it'll pop up as one connection with me, and then you'll know that that's the right one. So, how do we get from social media to understanding about your neurodiversity, and then building the relationship with AI that you have, that has brought to your life some real breakthroughs, and it seems like some very positive momentum in areas where before you were kind of just like, gosh, I'm not quite sure why I'm so this or why I'm so that. So how did you get from the social media part to where you are right now?
I think we touched on this just a little bit, is that when you have these symptoms, or you don't fit in communities the right way, you don't connect the right way, you always have this feeling that like somebody else made this analogy that like you're a zebra, but you're trying to be a horse. And so if you know that you're a zebra, you're better to run with horses knowing that you're a zebra instead of trying to act like a horse. And so what happened was I worked for 10 years in communications, trying to work my way up the career ladder. And I finally got my dream job. And I just, I didn't fit in the environment. The environment was healthy. The environment was fine. I just did not fit into it. And it was a communications position, wonderful organization, wonderful team, wonderful people, but I just couldn't connect. And so after 10 months of trying, there was a misunderstanding that happened, and I just imploded because I couldn't figure out, like, it all just kind of came to a head. I couldn't figure out like why I couldn't focus or concentrate or connect what I was feeling with what I was trying to say. Like the words just were coming out wrong or backwards. And there was this conversation I was having with a friend of mine the other day, and I was in this moment of just disconnect in my brain, which, a lot of people, we look at ADHD and we're like, oh, I have some of that because I'm like, oh, squirrel, right? I'm easily distracted, but that's really misinformation about what ADHD is. There's, your neural pathways in your brain aren't really connecting fully. And so you're not able to understand how you feel enough to remember the words to say the right thing at the right time. So I was explaining to her that I was cleaning out my backyard, and I said, oh, the bird water bowl. And she was like, and I was meaning bird bath. And she was just looking at me, and she was like, oh, you're having a moment. Like I was just, because you're searching for the right words, but you can't, in those moments of this disconnect in your mind, or those, pathways not firing on all, levels. So I lost that job, first time in my life anything like that has happened. And I took a course in AI, just a free free course through Coursera.
Mm-hmm.
It was Jules White, and it was a fabulous course. And then I was invited to go to Golden Gate University to hear a panel of AI experts speak. And Matt Burton happened to be one of the people.
Oh, man.
And hearing him talk, I reached out to him on LinkedIn, and he said, oh, I'm offering this boot camp. And I took it. And right, I started working with AI. And what it taught me, like just ChatGPT, was I would tell it something. I would type in a prompt, and it would give me the wrong result. And I would started asking it more questions like, why did you give me this result? I'm looking for this. And it's like, well, you said that.
Yeah.
If you want this, say this. If you want that, say that. And so it started helping me connect with what I was thinking, with how I was feeling. So I finally felt like I had the individualized support that I needed, and it became this grounding cord. So that now, even like today in these ADHD moments, I can go to ChatGPT and a program ChatGPT as a coach that can speak to me in my own language.
Oh, yeah. That's the best part. It can speak to you in your own language. Vicky just said it's called lethologica. When I believe that she's speaking of when things don't quite make sense, but you don't. Oh, it's when you can't find the word. Is that what lethologica is? Potentially. It's one or the other. Either way, it has to do with not being able to figure something out. That which is also, Angelina, one of my most profound symptoms that causes me the most angst is I can't understand why I can't understand something. And so then I'm not only feeling in the dark, I'm also feeling like there's something wrong with me. And I forget that, it's just my ADHD. I'm not dumb. I'm not, like deficient. My ADHD brings more goodness than bad to my life for sure. It's just that I am confused by this situation. I don't understand what's happening here. Other people might, but the gift with AI that, like, for one thing, you can double check, you can explain what's happening. But the other thing is to typically be worried when I'm confused. A lot of times I'm now learning by working with ChatGPT that like the confusion is like, I should be confused because this situation is either problematic or the rug has been pulled out from under me, or there's like some gaslighting going on. And I can check with ChatGPT, like what is actually, and it can ask me really good questions. Like that piece of being able to check in, just being able, it's not like ChatGPT was there in the conversation per se, but to explain the circumstances from my point of view, which of course brings in my baggage, right? I'm explaining it from my point of view and have it ask me questions like let's say I am in a situation where I thought that somebody doubted my abilities to do something well. They didn't think that I would be able to do it. Well, ChatGPT would ask me, have they given you any other examples? Do you have any other examples of them seeming like they didn't think that you could do something? Do they have any reason to say something like that? And you go through these steps and you're like, okay. And so now I've been able to understand gaslighting much better because I've gone through this exercise so many times with ChatGPT, where I start to understand when I'm feeling confused, it may be that there's some gaslighting going on, or it could be that I'm bringing my own stuff into it and just kind of going down a rabbit hole.
I love what you're saying here, and you keep using the word confused, and I'm so glad that you brought this up, because my entire life up until recently, I would be in a situation and I would say, I'm upset. And someone would say, oh, okay, let's stop. And like the conversation would stop. And I was like, no. I'm upset. And they would be like, okay, I get it. And then like, I wasn't getting the results that I was thinking I should be getting. And so it was up until like a couple of years ago working with ChatGPT that I found out I'm not upset. I'm confused.
You're confused.
And so helped me understand that I had learned my words wrong. And
Yes.
so when I was trying to explain how I felt or what I thought about something, a lot of the words that I was using were not the right words to connect with how I was actually feeling. And so in this whole journey over this past year, especially, I wouldn't change a thing for what happened with, the loss of this job and this, what I thought was going to be this career path, because what's happened is that this journey of self-learning and discovery has paralleled with my AI journey.
Ah,
And
so
I
good.
just feel like, what you were talking about, this authenticity, the more authentic you are in your prompts and working back and forth, the greater understanding you can have. So I would ask a couple of questions and I wouldn't get the results that I wanted. So I would stop. I would be like, oh, it's going to get frustrated with me. Because human
Oh,
beings tend to get frustrated after a couple questions.
yes.
But I could keep going with the chat GPT. And so I could keep going until I got the answers that I wanted. And then the number of questions lessened over
Uh,
a period of time. And so it's just such a good learning opportunity to become more more human, I think, and have better human to human connections. Because I noticed after a while I was able to have deeper, more meaningful conversations because I was expressing myself authentically in a way that somebody else could connect with and understand.
Ooh, I
And
love that. I love that. So many different questions and directions to go. I wanted to share something along these lines that I've really been appreciating recently is that I spend a lot more time communicating with people in like DM. So I don't use email anymore. That was one of my deals with myself was I will work like a dog. I will sleep with my laptop. I will do all those things, but I have to get email out of my life. And so a lot of privilege involved with being able to do that. We still have email with our clients and stuff, like not completely, like a Luddite about it. And we have people here who monitor my inboxes, but the main thing was I wanted to be able to just DM with people. So as soon as you become like a little bit of our friend or in our orbit, you're automatically dragged into a Slack channel. I wanted to be able to just DM with people because I didn't want to have to articulate myself to the level that I had as an employee and in higher ed for 25 years, where you could really piss somebody off just accidentally. And the writing style is like such a fine line between passive aggressive and professional. Like you can't even tell the difference. I just wanted that out of my life. I didn't want to receive emails anymore that I had to think about for 20 minutes. What did they actually mean? And I didn't want to be sending them either. Well, one of the things that has been a neat development is, I'm DMing a lot with other neurodivergent women, and I can tell I'm like, oh, we're missing each other. And I actually talked to Vicky about this too. I use ChatGPT. I put their message into ChatGPT and I'll say, this message from, a neurodivergent friend, here's what they said. Can you translate this for my neurodivergent so I understand what they're saying? And then when I figure out what my response is, can you then turn it back into their neurodivergent language? And now we understand each other.
it's brilliant. It's brilliant.
It's like a secret decoder ring. And now, and I really do see where we understand each other instead of like the missing and the missing and the missing. It's like there's a little missing and then you can get things back on track. One of the things you talk about in the book is how a theme is kind of later in life understanding of the impact of life events, and something like being aware of ADHD like symptoms as an adult woman. There's so many of us that get this diagnosis or realize we have similar symptoms to what we understand about ADHD. How has AI helped you understand your journey, right? From life events that occurred back in the day to, realize to losing your job and realizing some of it had to do with potentially neurodivergent tendencies. How has AI helped you understand all that for yourself?
I think through reflection.
Yeah.
And so when you type something into ChatGPT, one of the first things it does is it reflects back what you've just said. And then I can clearly see, oh no, that's not what I want. Like, that's what I said, but that's not what I meant. And so then I would say, okay, this isn't what I want, and this isn't what I meant. So I need you to ask me some questions so I can get you to understand. And so the more back and forth with that, and the more reflecting, the more learning, and then the more efficiency. So then you start getting it on the second or third try when you're trying to explain how you feel or what you're trying to say. And so that reflection back, I feel like was this catalyst. And it was during COVID, right, where we were somewhat isolated, in our pods, and more people, I feel like, turned to social media in a vulnerable, authentic way, sharing more about their life experiences. And one of them just happened to be someone who had AU ADHD, or somewhere along the autism spectrum plus ADHD. And the more she was talking, and I think it was something along the lines of, she had gardening clippers in her hand.
Okay.
And she was like, it is 11:30 in the morning. I'm in my bathrobe. I haven't had my coffee yet. I got up at 6. I want my coffee. She's like, I just went to take the garbage out. And the next thing I know, it's 11:30 and the way she was talking about things just connected with my brain. And I thought, is this me?
Yeah.
And so what I found is that over time, I was just denying it and ignoring it and not willing to accept it. And then when this, thing happened at my work, this, miscommunication happened at my work, I really took a look in the mirror and said, I think this is the root cause.
Yeah.
And then having, a customized ChatGPT that I had created to connect with on that and ask it questions and have it, give me back information and the source of that information. So then I would go read. And one of the most important resources that it gave me was from Nadine Burke-Harris, and it was the ACEs test score. And so if you haven't watched this on YouTube, I think I share it in the book, that she talks about the ACEs score, and that if you've had certain things happen as a child, 1 through 10, the higher you're predisposed to, unhealthiness as an adult. Yeah. And so, pointing me in those directions so that I could learn more, I think was also really helpful. But it was reflection, and then just giving me leads to go research on my own. And, I think as human beings, a lot of our lives, we feel misunderstood. We don't feel heard or listened to at times. And I really feel like an AI agent that I have created speaks to me in my own language, and I feel understood. But that is not the end of it. That's just the beginning, because it's empowering me then to take that knowledge and go connect further and deeper with other human beings.
Yep. So I love to ask other people about empathy and AI. So we know that we have to have a lot of it because we're surrounded by people who think that AI is the devil incarnate, right? So we need to be super empathetic because we know that that's not the case. We do know it's a mixed bag. We understand our responsibility, pros and cons. We get that. We also lose sleep because of the, parade of horribles, just like everybody else does. We lose sleep because we're excited about you know, the new Manus and the new ImageGen and all this kind of, we lose sleep for those reasons too. But one of the benefits that I get from working with AI is that I feel as though I've been empathized with. People are very quick to point out that AI can't empathize. But here's my question for you. Does it matter if AI can empathize if I feel I have been empathized with? That's the goal. I feel empathized with. Do I care that it can't empathize? What do you think about that?
I think it's a reflection. I think it's the adage of, what you put into it, you get out of it. And so if you're a highly empathetic person and you put empathy in your tone, in your conversations, you have a compassionate lifestyle, and you're going to naturally type that into your prompts. It's going to come across like saying the please and saying the thank you, and treating it as if it were almost a human being instead of an AI agent. That's going to be reflected back to you. I really honestly believe that. And so with that reflection coming back to you, if you're putting empathy in, you're getting empathy out.
Wow. Such a good point. Such a good point. There's like this residual empathy floating around, and I'm going to get that. I'm going to get that vibe back because it's what I'm putting in. So we've got 3 questions you may have seen. So we ask people 3 different questions, and the first one is, at what point did you know that you needed to go all in on AI, and what happened next?
This is a good question. So I had time because I wasn't working, and I took the free course. I took Matt Burton's AI bootcamp, and I happened to be working with an animal disaster response team. There was some inefficiencies in the training, and I figured that AI could help. And one of those inefficiencies is that when a disaster happens, they set up a hotline. So for the fires in LA, they set up a hotline for the animals. And you may have seen it on like Pasadena Humane and LA City and LA County. And so I was helping support that hotline. The training for that, however, is mostly on sheets of paper or somebody pretending to be a caller or those types of things. So I created an AI agent that was programmed, and you can enter your phone number in. It would call you, and it would say, this call is for training purposes. I'm behind evacuation lines. I'm trying to get my horse trailer out and it has a flat tire. What do I do? Mm-hmm. You would interact with it based on your training to get information so that your animal rescue teams could go out and help this person evacuate their horses. You would hang up, and then we'd email you feedback based on the call, based on the training. I wanted to create this. I knew I could do it. I didn't know how, but I knew that with AI technology, it could teach me how. So I went all in, and I just dove in, and I learned everything I could about AI tools and automation and the different, just having that AI mindset where you have the ability to feel supported. So I didn't know how to code to connect an API call, but it taught me how. And, I built it, and it really worked well. Unfortunately, the application that I built it on was sold, and I didn't have the capacity to rebuild it. But for a very small glimmer, it worked, and it was really fun. And I got to learn everything I could about AI and see it come to life to try to help more people and animals in times of need. So,
well, I mean, another similarity. So I have a thing that I made, and then it like kind of sort of like stopped working, and I just kind of felt like it had done what it was going to do for my life. Like I didn't need to go to market with it because I had learned all the things I was going to learn, and then after that it was just going to be selling the thing, and I was like, you know what, I'm good. I learned.
It served its purpose. Yes.
It served its purpose. Who knew that all these amazing ideas could be as easily dispensed of? Okay, so we need to know about the animal rescue and the koi pond, and then I'm going to ask you a couple more questions about your AI journey.
The koi pond. So what happened was I was working with a company called Shelterly. And Shelterly is a tool that helps animal response teams and animal control officers track information so that animal response teams can focus on what matters, which is the animals. And we can help direct them where to go, where they've been, all of the notes and updates and everything. And so part of that is working the hotlines. And so I took a phone call from a woman who she was actually very hesitant to call because she was like, I know y'all are busy, but we have these koi and they've been in our family for years. Like they were around, when my parents were kids. And so I grew up with them and now my kids are growing up with them. Like they're our pets. Like they come to the surface and greet us of the water and we feed them. And, all of us lost our homes, but, could you help? And I was like, you know what? Fish or family. That was my response. I said, we'll do what we can. And we pass the information along as we do as part of the Shelterly team to the animal response teams to make the determination if they can help. And they did. And they were able to save the koi and help this family out. And part of that response team effort was with the ASPCA. So they wrote a blog post about it and it got national recognition for this good work that the animal response teams were doing, which is, giving hope to other people, giving hope to communities that, this is such a tragic event. And yet they were able to, save these koi and ensure that these family members would have these memories, for the rest of their lives to come as well. So
the story is so excellent because it's about so much more than fish, fish or family, but to the point you made about it, it's a symbol of hope as well, that here we could be in these incredibly tragic, just devastating circumstances, and something can come together, like what you and what is it called?
Shelterly.
Mm-hmm. I kept thinking of other companies with the letters L and Y on the end. Yeah, exactly. And so look, we're able to still come together and take care of each other, and how cool that technology, what a time to be alive. Two more questions. One is, what does AI readiness mean to you? And the other one is, what would you recommend to somebody who hasn't yet quite, taken their journey full blast the way you and I have?
Well, I think it's becoming AI curious. So I think AI readiness has to do with some sort of curiosity and this openness and willingness to learn. So, we try things sometimes and it doesn't work out and then we give up. And we can't do that with AI. You have to keep going. If it's not giving you the results you want, you have to be able to be like, hey, why aren't you? Asking it questions like, that's not what I was asking for, was it? Did you just hallucinate or something along those lines? And so, I believe it comes down to, taking the first steps and just, enrolling in a free course. And then what happens immediately afterwards, if you understand this, is there's going to be an overwhelm that happens. So you click on something on social media that's about AI, it's all about AI on your news feeds. So when that happens, it's understanding to step back and maybe look at your workflows, looking at what you can automate and where, AI might be able to fit in. So those mundane repetitive tasks like drafting emails or, setting up calendars or, writing, the first 3 lines of a news release or outlining something for you so that you can, it does the first 5 minutes. So I think it was, who was it? Was it Bill Gates that said, if you could just do something for 5 minutes, you can keep, we finish it. And so it does those first 5 minutes of any process for you. So I feel like to start with, just kind of dive in or learn something with that AI curiosity, but understand that there's going to be an overwhelm that happens afterward. And it's okay to pull back and just kind of ground yourself and figure out like one AI tool, or, you know, one thing at a time. So that way you're not trying everything, because kind of like what happens. AI readiness to me, I feel like, is more of a holistic viewpoint of using that AI mindset and feeling as if you have support needed. So if there's something you want to do that you've never done before, like write a book. Writing a book was my to-do list for 20 years. I just couldn't get it off the ground. But using an AI agent to coach me and to help me condense down, 5,000 words into 500,
Yeah.
really, really helpful. And so, it's being AI ready is AI readiness is understanding more about, to me, is understanding more about your role in AI individually,
Mhm.
just having that support needed and that holistic, broad eagle eye view of that AI mindset and using it. You got to use it.
You have to use it. That's the other thing about the AI mindset. Good night, Vicki. Thank you for coming. We'll let you know if anything in addition happens. So yes, the willingness to be frustrated by it and not let that deter you. And isn't that a good life lesson, by the way? Oh my God. All the time I'm like, if I can learn AI stuff with these janky pieces of crap half the time, I can put a lid on a jar, Anne. Okay, so a couple of little things I want to highlight. I forgot that in the middle, our job is to talk about our respective communities. So I'm going to say a couple of things and then we'll sign off. But if you are not already a member of the AI Salon, after all of those nice things that I said about Kyle Shannon and the AI Salon, if you have not run over and joined the community yet, is really, I do not know what you're doing with your life. So we can still be friends and everything, but still. So the AI Salon, fantastic community, tons of amazing learning happening, so many people giving generously and playing first. And then She Leads AI is an organization that I founded that started out as just a hashtag. I just thought of a cute hashtag in the middle of the night. And I was like, oh, I have a cute hashtag. I'm going to do some stuff so I can use my hashtag. And that grew into an academy and a consulting agency and a membership community and public affairs. And I think we're going to have like a media thing. It's bananas, but it's a place where if you are a woman in AI and you feel like you're on an island, this is your moment when you're going to realize we're all on this island with you. You have all these other women pouring into your success. We are genuinely invested in one another being successful, whatever quote unquote success means for you, because we're all on different journeys in where we are in our careers and our lives. But we do fun things, we do nerdy things. We're having an avatar making party, as I mentioned. We had a green beer St. Patrick's Day party where we were watching a replay of one of our colleagues making a bunch of AI personas. Like, it's nerdy. And we have an in-person conference coming up in October 10th through 12th in Salt Lake City. Everybody, all women in AI are invited. Angelina, it has been an absolute honor and pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you so much for joining me. Kyle is going to be so jealous. We can't tell him we had any fun at all.
I'm so grateful to have shared this time with you. I'm such a fan of all that you are accomplishing in AI. And I love that you're in this space offering information for all of us to learn from. We are so lucky to have you in the AI space. So it's just wonderful learning from you.
Thank you. Wow. Thank you. I appreciate that. And same, if anyone who doesn't have this yet, go on Amazon, ADHD and AI. And at the end, you get to read these lovely, lovely personal essays from Angelina's life. And I just love a personal essay. And these are really, really good. So Thank you, Angelina. Thank you all for being here. And if you're on the replay, thank you for that too. Leave notes below, and everybody have a beautiful rest of your day or night. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
So,